Hello everyone, a very warm welcome to the workshop for oil and gas software development using Python. I am your host Swagat Pradhan, a business development executive from Edvantage Learning. Today we are privileged to have Mr. Jayesh Chahar, the data scientist from Siemens, as our esteemed faculty. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Let's dive into this exciting journey of learning and exploration. We want all of you guys to keep yourself mute. If you have any queries, please ask in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and ask. That's all from my side. Jay sir, the mic is yours.
Hello, hi everybody. Good evening, good morning, all of you. I hope everybody is doing good, have a great time, learning new things. So let me share the screen. But before sharing the screen, let me clear the agenda what we are going to discuss today. So it will be quick 40 minutes, what you can say, PPT session or a conversation session between you and me. Uh, It will be quick 40 to 45 minutes session in which we will see the complete thing, how software development look like, and what is the current market situation in oil and gas software development, and what are the skills that are required so that you can create your own application and all those things. Okay. I want this particular session to be interactive, so your questions are welcomed at all the times. Just raise your hand or type your question in the chat box. Let me quickly share my screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir, visible.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So current oil and gas software market situation is looking like this. The software market average growth per year per annum is around 15.4% with around 10.2 billion US dollar market size in 2022. And it is expected that by the end of 2033, the market size will be around 42.8 billion. The main reason behind this rise is one of the major reason is you can say the development in area, development in data analytics area, development in big data analytics, right? Apart from this particular AI thing, there is also, just give me a second. He share my screen again. Let me know if my screen visible.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes, is available.
Yeah, so one of the major reason for this particular growth is growth of AI in the past few years, as well as technologies such as IoT sensors, big data, and automation. These are also witnessing the expansion of this particular market. So that's why there is this particular good growth going on in the oil and gas market, especially in the IT form. And all the companies, nearly all the companies want to digitalize their solution. So that's why the growth of software market is there. Here, as I said, some of the factors that are propelling the growth is your investment in technologies such as IoT, basically IoT sensor information of technology sensors, automations, big data analytics, so that activities such as maintenance, asset management, as well as other things are optimized. Some of the largest manufacturers in this particular domain, software market domain of oil and gas, are these. SK Technology, you can see SAP is there, Oracle is there, Shlum is also there. Shlum is also in the past few years, I have seen a lot of software engineering jobs in Schlumberger as well as even in Halliburton also. And also post 2018, there is also a rise in jobs of your AI and data analytics, artificial intelligence and data analytics. And in that particular field also, your basically your Python development comes into picture because you have to write the code in Python itself. So that's the scenario. And even some of the big companies like AdNoc, ASNoc, these companies has also issued tenders for their automation development or means their software development for certain applications. So Indian companies like Infosys, TCS has applied for those tenders. Let's see who win the tender. So all these things are going on now. Coming to a little bit technical part, what does a application look like? Let me just quickly open my whiteboard. What does a software look like? So if you have seen any software, it can be any software. It can be your Zoom meeting or anything, right? So there are two main components of a particular software. One is your front end that users will see. Users will interact with your front end. The other one will be your back end, this particular area, where all of your logic, all of the things, all of the base coding part will also be there in front end, but all of the logics will be written inside your back end. And there will be a communication between your front end and back end, this particular communication. So our main focus will be the back end itself. Python developer, basically most of the Python development is done for the back end. But what developer does, languages, so what the backend developer does, he will develop his backend as well as he will provide some API routes, APIs. Those can be connected with the front end, and your front end developer will be different. Basically, there will be a communication between your front end and back end. Our main focus will be on the back end, how to do the back end development and what are the components that are required in the back end development, right? And your front end things are generally done using HTTP, JavaScript, CSS. These are different coding languages. And for the backend purposes, again, your Java, JavaScript, PHPs are used. Python is used. Our main focus will be on Python because not only in software development, in data science industry or the AI industry also, Python is the most used. Am I audible, guys? Hello. Can anybody
Yes,
confirm if my voice is
yes,
coming
yes.
clear or not?
Yeah, it's clear.
So, yeah. So what I was saying that not only in software development, but in the AI and data science also, main language that has been the uses of the language that has increased in the past years is Python. So that's why our focus will be on Python itself. So that because it has more opportunities, we will learn the things that has more opportunities itself, right? And now a question can arise that why a petroleum engineer or a guy who is working in the energy sector should know programming, right? The answer to that particular question will be that if you are generally for the roles like if we have to develop a particular application for a oil and gas industry, if a particular, let's say XYZ is a company that is developing a application for the oil and gas industry, in which even it is developing a simulator for the oil and gas industry, okay, reservoir simulator. Now that particular XYZ company will give more preference to a guy who knows reservoir as well as programming instead of a guy who only knows programming or instead of a guy who only knows reservoir engineering. Because if you are a guy who knows both, right? If you know reservoir engineering, that's right, reservoir engineering as well as programming, that's right, programming. by P.
বুঝতে এটা আছে
Guys, please mute yourself. If you are a guy who knows both reservoir engineering as well as programming, it will be their benefit because you will be doing the work of two guys. Because if the company hires only a guy who knows programming only, then also a reservoir engineer will be required there so that he can tell the logic of the simulator, okay, that how the data will flow from one part of a simulator to other part of the simulator. In a similar way, if the company has a reservoir engineering itself, a programmer will be required. So that's why in the current market situation, companies or corporates are looking to the people who are having the most skills. With the core skills, they also knows programming, core skills and programming. And this is not only applicable in oil and gas industries, but across all the industries, whether it is aerospace industry, all the engineering industries, whether it is aerospace industry or mechanical industry, mechanical engineering industry or electrical electrical engineering industries. It's better to know programming, and in the coming few years, I guess that in the coming few years, it will be necessary for all of the people to know programming. Doesn't apply if he is from a non-math background, from a commerce background, or any other background. If he is good in programming, he's good to go in any particular field. Okay. So structure of a particular application or a software looks like this. There will be one front end and there will be one back end, and there will be communications between this front end and back end. That particular communication is done by APIs. Lot of dive deeper what is API, but yeah, and just assume that API is your waiter, users are your customers present in a particular restaurant, back end is your cook or chefs. So waiter will take order from the users using front end and tell the chefs that okay, from particular users dish. So in this particular ways, your APIs will work. And if you see here there are two things: request and response. So request will be from user side that okay, I want this. Response will be from your backend application side that okay, response is this. For example, if user is entering what is the output of 2 plus 3, and the logic is written here that if a two numbers add a plus b, we need to give the addition. So 2 plus 3 will be 5. So this 5 will be response. Okay. Any doubts? Anything you want to ask? Any other query? Okay. So now, as the complete situation is around doing the development using Python, so what are the essential tools that are required for doing this particular Python development or Python software development? The initial Python development tools will be your IDEs, that is your integrated development environment, where your code is written to write a code, okay, so that you can interact with your machine or with your computer. Because at last, a code is nothing but the instructions that you give to your particular computer that okay, you have to. Jonathan, what kind of architectures are most used today? Event source architectures. What type of architectures you are asking, Jonathan? Is in which particular scenario? If you're asking about the complete architectures stack, so basically for DB, depending again on your use case, for database, You can use either SQL DBs like PostgreSQL or NoSQL DBs like MongoDB, right? For APIs, REST APIs, fast API is the best in today's time. Apart from fast API, there can be Flask, there can be Django, right? And for front end development, you can use React. So this particular thing is known as Farm.
Actually, my question is more around if we use more event source architecture, maybe with hexagonal design or microservice or internal microservice, or maybe
Okay.
using the cloud system to connect multiple microservice in the cloud.
Good on
Well,
microservices.
I mean, microservice usually is working with many lambda. You don't have a core system. You have to distribute all the code in many lambdas or many service to connect all them for SQS, SNS, or any other kind of architecture, maybe to work in a synchro way. I don't know.
Again, these particular architectures are most used today. Again, this will be dependent on your use case. You can use, let me write it here. You can use microservices for your different part. Microservices for your front end. Let's say you have done your development, front end development in using code, right? Let me just open the notebook. So either you can use microservices for your different part. For example, if you have a AI application, one microservice you can create for your inference pipeline. One microservice you can create for your front end. One microservice you can do for your utilities or something else, right? Again, this particular microservice can be a, you can say, can be a joint venture of monolithic architecture or maybe other microservices. So again, depending on your use case or depending on the requirement of the client or of your particular tool, the architecture is designed. For example, if I give you an example of one of the particular product that we developed in the past 2 3 months, last 2 3 months, that was, you can say, a monolithic service of different microservices. So combination of both monolithics and microservices are also used. And again, depending where you have to do the deployment, whether it will be your on-premise deployment or will be it on cloud deployment, these things can change. Generalizing particular thing cannot be a good answer here. I hope I answer your question, Jonathan.
Yeah.
And one more questions to you guys. How many of you have a basic idea or have done the programming earlier before this particular session? Or how many of you are completely new to programming? Right in the chat box.
Hello,
Hello.
sir. Good evening. I'm Vihar.
Yeah, hi Vihar.
I know a little bit about the Python programming. Actually, I'm learning the data analytics, sir, and
Okay.
uh, and how this data analytics used in the our industry. So that means how to search whether the openings are there in the data analytics post in the petroleum industry, and um, how much that means how to get the Python the data which as a dummy data which the petroleum are using, sir.
So first of all, how to get to know about
Data.
the openings. So that LinkedIn and Naukri.com will be your choice so that you can know about the listings. Right. Apart from that, connect with your what you can say. Just search on the LinkedIn that who are the people that are working in this particular domain. You can connect with them. You can ask if a particular if their particular company is having an opening or not. Okay. And the second thing, how to get the data. One of the best data set for practicing the data analytics is your whole field data.
Yes,
So
sir. That's my point.
yeah. So tabular data you can access, whole field data you can directly search or the just give me a second. Let me open the Google Chrome for you. Just write the whole field data, and you will be able to find the data. Either you can go to Equidel site itself or not on Equidel site. If you want to somewhere else, you can also search it on GitHub. And if you want to practice, I can share a particular data set with you and do your practice on that.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, let me share it here only. And what is a particular GitHub? This particular thing. There is some open source data like Equinox. Yeah, there are a lot of open source data nowadays. Not even tabular data, you will be also be able to find images data.
جمع الكلاس كم؟ لا. هذا في كورس مجاني بشهادة آخر شيء. من وين؟ تابع علي.
Guys, if you don't have any questions, please see that if you are muted or not. Please don't disturb others. Okay. So there are also image data source. The image data is also present. For right. Just 1 6 7.
Sir,
Yeah. Hello.
actually, the drilling and production is one of the areas, sir. And when coming to this data analytics, this is also plays a vital role in the petroleum industry, no, sir. Will this data analyst job will come to the fresher, or it is only for the experienced?
I started my journey as a fresher to
Right
enter.
now, I'm fresher, sir. And
Yeah,
hello,
again, as I
just
say, as I'm saying, I started my journey as a fresher 3 years back. So everybody is a fresher in the starting, right?
yes, sir.
Yeah. Just give me a second. Let me log in into this GitHub and I'll share the data. Meanwhile, let's read the questions. Do you think that use the most common clouds such as AWS, GCP, Azure are getting common in oil and gas for deploy big project due to in past I have had many for low for data governance. I don't think that in the oil and gas industry there will be obviously the clouds like AWS and GCP will be present there, but in current particular situation, if there is a oil and gas giant company, they will prefer on-prem deployment instead of cloud deployment because they are not that much confident in the data leakage scenario. Because and not only in oil and gas industry, also in automotive industries also. I've seen the examples, many of the big companies across the world prefers on-premise deployment. But maybe in future, this scenario can change. And for the persons who don't know what is an on-premise deployment and cloud deployment, so basically on-premise means there will be a computer at their premise itself, and there your software will be deployed. Deployment basically means so that your software is available for the users to use. My GitHub is not opening, but yeah, I'll share the whole build data. GitHub link.
No, my God.
ó tẹ̀lé wá sọ pé àwọn ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ bẹ̀rẹ̀ nígbà tí mo dé iná tó dìde wọn ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ parí. àìmọye ọkọ fẹ́ tẹ̀ láì má bá tẹ̀ ẹ̀kọ́ mo sọ̀rọ̀ pé òun ta. èmi náà ṣe bá wọn ní last week.
Guys, please mute yourself. Okay. So that was a structure. So yeah, essential tools. ID is basically your integrated development environment where you basically write the code so that you can interact with your computer or your machine. Python package manager so that you can install different Python packages. These Python package managers can be pip, anaconda, pip or anaconda, right? Generally, anaconda is used nowadays because by default there are some of the packages inside it, data analytics packages, and some other productive extensions that are present inside VS Code. So this particular thing that is looking here, this blue one, this is your VS Code. I show you an example of VS Code. VS Code looks like this. Here you can write your Python scripts or Jupyter notebooks. This IPyNB is your Jupyter notebook where you can write your code. And in a similar way, you can also write the code in Python script itself. So this particular software, this blue one is your VS Code. Now, some web development tools. Flask is there, Fast API is there. These two are basically your API tools. REST API that interacts your front end. Yeah, you can also use PyCharm, but you can also use PyCharm, VS Code, Sublime. Many of the IDs are there. Spider, Flask, and Fast API. These are your API, basically REST APIs that will help you to connect your backend with your front end. And Streamlit is a Python package that helps you to develop your own web application with the front end itself. The code will be in Python itself. These are some of the web development tools. Data analysis tools. Pandas is there. That is your Microsoft Excel of Python. NumPy is there. By using NumPy, you can interact with arrays, tensors. If you want to learn the deep learning, then NumPy and TensorFlows will be your go-to thing. Or PyTorch will be your go-to libraries. So visualizations tools are there, Matplotlib, Seaborn, Plotly, Pandas profiling. These are basically libraries of Python by using which you can create your graphs or your plots. Okay. So these are some of your development tools that are required for a software development, simple software development. Apart from these Python tools, there will be Git. So Git is basically a version control system. So for example, if in a particular project, if a particular software development project, multiple peoples are working together, right? So how to do the what you can say, how to combine all their work, or how to combine their different development. So for that particular situations, Git comes into picture. So Git is a free and open source distribution version control system, so that everything can be handled in a large project with speed and efficiency. So if you see here, there are these three developers working on a particular software. They are working on different features, right? So by using Git, all of their work can be combined together and your final software can be created. And not only the situations with different developer, Git will also do your version control. So for example, there is some version 0.1, initial version of your application. And in this initial versions, you have added further features, right? New features will be added in all the applications, right? So how to handle these new features? In that particular situation, also your Git comes into picture. So that these new features are added and then deployed. For example, in ChatGPT itself, initially a simple chatbot was released by OpenAI. Now you can even upload a picture in ChatGPT. So new feature was introduced, how to upload a picture and how to even add your own data so that ChatGPT can interact with it. So for handling all those particular things, your Git comes into picture, your version control comes into picture, right? Any doubts?
No, complete.
Okay, so once all these things are done, your final step is your deployment. And again, here I am sharing a picture of a market research that was done by this persistence market research company that is showing different type of deployment that is happening. So software deployment, as I also said, is the process of making your software available to the user so that users can use your software. Version control basically means Ali that in your initial version, if you have released your application with some particular features, right? In the future version, you want to add more features to that particular application, right? So there need to be some manager type of thing need to be there so that that particular can handle all the versions there. So that basically all of your code will be present in one place itself. So if you want to go to the previous version, you can go. If you want to go to a selective version, you can go. So Git is that particular thing. So for example, if I show you again the web, so we talked about NumPy, right? NumPy is basically a library. You can say a piece of software. So here, this is basically GitHub, where all of a hub over the Git version control itself. So if you see here, you can see all the previous versions you are able to find. So in this way, basically documentation of the thing or maintaining all the codes in a well documented method, Git comes into picture. Okay, Ali? And software deployment, basically making the your software available to the users because you will be doing the development in your local system or in your PC. Now you have to make this particular application that you have made available to the other users also, right? So you need to deploy it. And this particular deployment happens in two ways. One is your on-premise software, other is your cloud software, cloud deployment. So in cloud, your all the things will be deployed on the internet itself, and people with the particular link to that particular port can access it. And in on-premise deployment, there will be there will be a machine present at your local area or some other particular area where you will deploy the software and make the machine available to all the users by again by using different port opening. Here also the complete growth, cumulative annual growth rate, 15.40% of this particular market is shown. And region-wise, we can see India, Japan, and China is leading currently the development part, followed by US and UK. Around 10.10% annual growth is there in on-premise deployment and 19.20 production. Now, what will be the guide? How the your learning thing or your learning journey will look like? And again, this particular thing I am discussing with regards to Python programming language. You can choose the programming language of your choice also. You can use C, C++, or Java. So basically, after clicking choosing the language, your first thing will be learning the basic syntax of that particular language, how to write a code, how to write a particular logic in that language, right? What are variables? What are data types? All these things are common in all the languages. Once you know this, the next thing will be learning the data structures, how to store the data. In all the softwares, there is nothing but a flow of data from user to your backend to again to your user, right? User is inputting something, that is also data. Your backend or your application is performing some calculation, that is also data. It shows some result, that is also data. So we need to handle this data, we need to communicate this data. So that particular thing you learn from data structures. Some of the data structures of Python are lists, tuples, sets, and dictionaries, and arrays also. Then you will again learn some logic by using loops. There are different loops. While loop is there, for loop is there, if else conditions are there. Then you need to learn some functions, how to apply this function. After this particular functions, you also need to know how to do the exception handling. So if a particular error is there in your pipeline, your complete software need not to be broken. You need to handle that particular exception or error. That is known as your exception handling, right? After that, start learning some of the libraries like NumPy and Pandas, data libraries of Python. Learn plotting so that you can show the plots. After that, learn version control systems, the Git basically, learn Git, and learn the REST API so that till this point, or till this point, you are able to create a backend code, right? You need to connect this particular backend code with the front end. I am assuming that you guys are from oil and gas background itself, so understanding the basic advanced oil and gas industry, I am assuming that that is a prerequisite. Oh, but again, that is also a main step because what type of application you are going to develop, you need to know every logic of it. Right? For example, if you are developing again a reservoir simulator, you must know that okay, what is the porosity, what is the permeability, what is the flow regime, right? So that thing, as you guys are from energy sector, I am assuming that you know this particular thing. So till this point, your backend is made. Now you need to connect this backend with the front end. So for doing that, your REST APIs comes into picture, right? Then your front end comes into picture. You can use Streamlit or any other language also. Or generally, front end developers are different from backend developers. So once this front end is also made, your complete thing is made, and this complete package you can deploy on cloud or on premise, right? So this will be your step-by-step guide how to start your journey with the software development. And again, the software development nowadays can be different things. It can be a simple pure logic. There are also AI-based softwares nowadays, so you also need to see that how that particular AI model will handle your responses and requests. So this was basically a quick idea of how software developments look like, what is software development, and if you want to start your journey, what will be the different tools you are going to see. So VS Code I already showed you, and a particular software code, a structured software code will look like this. There will be different folders. These routers are basically for your APIs. DBOps is for your database operations, configurations, constants, data models, logger, main pipeline where your main code is written. In this way, your code is written. This will be your main.py, the main Python file that will be executed. This again, I'm showing a backend itself, front end will look a little bit different. But yeah, the rest of the story is this only. So yeah, this was a quick introduction to software development. So any doubt, guys? Any doubts, any things that you want to ask? Let us know. IoT cannot be useful basically by the development in IoT sector itself. There are different sensors that are present nowadays, right? So if a sensor is fitted in a particular, let's say, well bore, now you have a data that 20 years back you were not able to collect that particular data, right? So due to availability of this particular data, the people who are present in the industry are thinking that if I have the data, let's make use of it, right? So for making the use of that particular data, your software development will be needed, and also to collect the data from the IoT sensor to the upward to your main, what you can say, above the ground. Again, software will be needed. So that's why the development in the IoT sector itself also increase the usage of software development in oil and gas industry. Where does AI generative come into the picture? AI, generative AI. Generative AI comes into picture. So nowadays, as ChatGPT, after the release of ChatGPT, OpenAI also released the GPT APIs. So as I talked here, REST APIs, just like your REST APIs, just like your REST APIs, GPT APIs are also introduced. So you can create your own chatbot or your own generative AI chatbot or that particular using those particular GPT APIs. For example, if I want to create a predictive maintenance chatbot, right? That I have a data, I have a failure data of a particular compressor, let's say of a compressor of a subsurface. If I have last 30 years of data of equipment failure of that particular equipment, that okay, if a noise is coming from the right fan, maybe the temperature is too high in this particular thing, right? So by using this particular data, you can create your own chatbot that will help the maintenance worker or the workers, basically the initial workers that are present on the site and that doesn't know that much about the compressor or any other equipment. That is again a one example itself, but in this way, your generative AI can help. Other example is that using the image generation. So, for example, if you have a particular, you have to solve a particular use case of, let's say, seismic images, right? But you don't have enough data. So, what you can do, you can do the image generation AIs to create the data for your training. Different products are there. As I said, there can be your forecasting thing, time series thing will be there. That and there not only forecasting thing, there can be a simulation thing using AI because nowadays data is increasing vastly. So AI and the physics-based simulator can be there. EOR screening can be there. EOR screening software can be there. Many different softwares can be there. A simple simulator itself is also a software, right? Like CMG. And also there is a lot of increase in the this seismic area also. Any other doubts, guys? No doubts? Okay, then we may conclude the sessions if no further doubts are there. Stop sharing my screen. Also, I'm also available for next 2-3 minutes if you want to ask any other doubt.
Yes. Can we have that PowerPoint that you explained it why, or it's not allowed? It?
Yeah, sure, you will be receive that particular PPT in your mail account
In WhatsApp group?
or the group